Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with
the professor!
Wrestling.
Hi, this is Dave, one half of the Professors of Wrestling, and tonight, or today, or whatever time you're watching this, I'm sitting down with one half of the Knightmare Syndicate, Alexander Knight. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Yourself?
Oh, good. Thanks for joining us here.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
We would have liked to have done this sooner rather than later, but stuff has happened.
Yeah, circumstances are what they are.
But it's happening now. So when we get these things going, when we get started here, one question we like to ask everybody is, what got you into wrestling?
That's an interesting question. I started mat wrestling, amateur wrestling, at the age of 5. Both Aiden and I did that all the way up to high school. I quit in high school. Coach wanted me to lose, I think it was like 10 pounds or something. He wanted me to wrestle 104 varsity, and it just wasn't happening. And so I kind of backed off from that. And about 4 or 5 years ago, a bug got put in my ear that there was a professional wrestling scene in the area, and the chance was there to get involved, and went ahead and ran with it.
So were you ever into professional wrestling before that?
Oh yeah. Growing up, for sure, I always was a huge fan of professional wrestling, watching it on TV, for sure.
Who are some of your favorites?
Let's see. Guys like Motor City Machine Guns, the Young Bucks, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian. Some of those smaller guys, naturally, being the smaller type, I sort of gravitated to those smaller wrestlers.
So like the cruiserweights, kind of like down on that one.
Paul London, Brian Kendrick.
Would you say those would be the ones that probably had the biggest influence on you?
Absolutely.
Since you've gotten into the we'll say the local regional wrestling, who's been some of the big influences you on within that?
In the local wrestling scene, there's been so many people that I've met that have just been so impactful on my life. One of the big ones around here, Preston Veston, is somebody that really sort of took me under their wing and kind of helped me navigate my way around the locker room a little bit better, kind of fill in some shoes, kind of take a leadership role.
When Dorian and I first saw you, it was much more in the tag team circuit with your brother Aiden.
Right.
How has that switch going from tag team to singles? Because you see some people really thrive in the tag team because you see it's a synergy between the partner and that. And then when they get into that singles match, it just sometimes they can't keep the synergy going.
Yeah. I think having the amateur wrestling background and sort of having that experience in singles competition with one-on-one on the mat, that at least helped me with the mental preparation for it, sort of understanding that I don't have somebody in my corner to fall back to. With that being said, I really enjoy the tag team scene. I enjoy doing that with my brother. Like you said, that synergy that you have, is so crucial in tag team wrestling, and I couldn't ask for a better partner.
How has your perspective changed since going from tag team to singles?
I mean, it definitely gets me in more of a mindset returning to tag team wrestling. Maybe not necessarily focusing on that corner so much, not depending on the corner to be there, because things happen, whether somebody gets involved and pulls your partner off the apron or whatever, you have to prepare for a singles match, even in a tag team, because you never know when your partner could be out. So sort of gives me a different approach to.
We're sitting in the Peacock Center right now, and this is the first time we've been here in months, probably 7 months here. What does coming back to Pavo, Georgia mean to you?
Pavo, Georgia has been my home base for wrestling since I started. And being able to make this comeback and come back here shows that not only are the wrestlers in that locker room tight, but the fans want it as well. And the fans have invested so much into those of us in that locker room that they're wanting to come back, they're willing to come back, and I think that speaks a lot in and of itself.
It seems like your prominence within the promotion has also increased there. How would you kind of, can you get a little more detail about like how the locker room is now? Particularly, I think the stakes are a little bit higher now. Now more, not only is it about egos and maybe issues of some sort, but also you're dealing with the COVID going on.
Right. I think some of the benefits of sort of picking up in the locker room where I have, with not having guys like, like James Morrison being able to come up, some of those vets that we've had here for a long time, having that sort of vacuum in the locker room, everybody's sort of looking to see who can step up and who can sort of help out there. And I kind of just took my calling there and said, I have a bit of a charismatic attitude, you know what I mean? Maybe I can help keep that fire under everybody, keep everybody pushing and sort of take up that mantle that's sort of fallen off.
It's interesting. I thought about it. We always thought James Morrison would be a great GM.
Right.
Just not only his charisma he brings to the ring, but also what he brings to behind the curtain and what's going on as well, too. And he's also a fan favorite. What would you consider, as you've risen up on the A.I.W.F belt that you're brandishing right there?
Right.
What was the biggest obstacle to getting that belt?
I think honestly the biggest obstacle was my own head. Winning a singles title, it's doing it on your own. And yes, I've had tag team success with my brother, but really sort of stepping out and getting out of that ego space and depending on myself to push myself to where I needed to be is really it was a hurdle to kind of get over my own head. The physical wasn't necessarily as daunting, knowing that the guys are all in a similar weight class,
right?
But definitely trying to get over my own headspace and sort of understanding the target that comes with this and everything that comes along.
What about the part that it seemed like the tournament was in full swing?
Yeah,
and then it's like everything got shut down, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, that had a lot to do contributing to that headspace as well. Just sort of the chaos, brackets were made and everything was put out, and was sort of able to prepare for who we were going against, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks before a show, the brackets have changed up. Certain people aren't going to make it. Now my opponents are different. It was very chaotic, but I just kept in mind my goal, and that was to be the first A.I.W.F middleweight champion.
Moving on to, we've seen the feud between you and El Nino, but again, Doran and I, we're going to go back a little bit history here, as we remember you had a feud with your brother, one of your brothers who some people may not be familiar with or may, but Jake. So the feud with the teams between you and Aiden, is there any similarities? I mean, what type of issues does that bring into your relationship? I mean, it's not only professional, but then it's personal.
Right. I feel with any feud within family, I mean, there are connections that can be made and sort of similarities, things that you can plan for, things that'll be dropped. But I don't believe that there would be quite the same rift driven between Aiden and I. We've spent a lot of time together. And yes, Jake, being our younger brother, we've spent a lot of time with him too. But, I joke, Aiden and I were womb mates. You know what I mean? We have an extra 9 months on everyone else that we've ever met. So I feel like while, yes, we have this struggle and yes, we have this sort of feud between us, I'm hoping that there's still healthy rivalry there and that Aiden's not legitimately that upset with me.
Well, you both have the same mantra,
right.
Fear no man.
Right.
How does that add to the in-ring tension to where you both kind of are coming from the same kind of like mental space of like, I got to go in there and win this? Yeah,
I think with both of us sort of feeling that sort of fear no man, that fearless mantra, stepping across the ring from anybody else, you can look in their eyes and you can pick that one thing that they're afraid of. You can see they're leaning a little bit to the side. That ankle's hurt. They're fearing you might hurt that. They look to their kids sitting out in the crowd or whatever. There's something you can always pick from and draw from to pick that weakness out of an opponent. But when you have somebody across the ring that is in the same mindset as you, that there is no fear, it's tunnel vision. You know, that makes me have to put on those blinders that much more. I can't focus on what he might be afraid of because I know he's not. I know he's willing to fight as hard as I am for it.
And we'll just play the guessing game here. Say you win tonight. Who do you see down the pike as being someone you wanna go against in the ring?
There's been a few people. There's definitely been a handful that have thrown their name in the hat. There are a couple that I'd like to tangle with. I've never gotten a chance to wrestle Warren Sanders. I've seen him a few times, and he seems like a good match, and he's, talked online, same with El Nino. Guys like him, possibly Yo-Yo. We've had him up here before. I wrestled him and Eli Knight in a triple threat, I would love to give him a shot, he's a hard worker, and I'd like to see what we could do.
What are your goals with, we're well over, or 3/4 of the way through, we'll just say that, 2020. And probably half of 2020 has been on the shelf. So what's the rest of what are your goals to be able to get through this year into 2021?
I think my biggest goal right now is to step into 2021 still the A.I.W.F Southern Middleweight champion. I don't want this title to be bounced around. I don't want it to be depleted. I want it to have longevity, and it's on my shoulders, so that's where I'm going to try to keep it.
What advice would you give somebody who's looking to get into the wrestling? I want to say racket, but I mean the most positive sense. Wants to get into this versus a year ago, you would probably have different advice than you would now. I mean, how would it change, and what would you say right now?
Right now, the best advice I could give to anybody who wants to get involved is start going to shows. Show up to an independent show and see where you can help out. Help break down the ring. See what you can do to contribute. That's how a lot of guys get in and pay their dues. Make sure that it's a reputable place, kind of get a feel as you watch the show, are these people safe? If not, there's so many schools out there. There's so many reputable schools. If you, have that extra money that you can pay into it, I would suggest going to a school. Tampa Bay Pro is a really good one down in South Florida. It's Jay Lethal, and the other coach is the Technical Alchemist. So they've got a really good ship down there, and they're putting out some really good talent.
Excellent. And if somebody wanted to find information about Alexander Knight, where do we go?
All right. I'm on Facebook. You can find me Alexander Knight on Facebook. Shoot me a friend request. I've got plenty of room. Or you can find me on Instagram at @TheRealAlexKnight.
Thanks a lot, man.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
Check us out. We're doing what we can. I'm Dave, half of the Professors of Wrestling. Hopefully, things are going to be changing in 2021 for the better. Thanks a lot for all your support. We appreciate it.